better informed, if you want me to be better hang on, Jonathan. If you want me to, hang on, Scott. If you want me to be better informed, Jonathan, then let the international journalists into Gaza to do their job and find out for themselves. Let them do it. There's a reason Netanyahu doesn't want it to happen and is prohibiting journalists from going in there.
There's lots of
embedded with the IDF and a friendly, like Andrew Fox.
There's lots of reporting
and
from Gaza.
There is no independent free reporting in Gaza.
Yes,
none.
There is. Piers.
Zero.
Yes,
Nada.
there is.
You banned all international media.
Reuters.
Which journalists got in freely without IDF
CNN,
embedment?
Washington Post and AFP all have correspondents on the ground reporting from Gaza. Yes, check their bylines.
Operating freely.
All of these are reporting from Gaza daily. They have been reporting since October 7. What you say is factually incorrect.
So there is no ban, just to be clear. Wow.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Truth Review. I'm Hayes, and this exchange between Piers Morgan and IDF spokesman Jonathan Conricus has one very specific and very checkable contradiction sitting right in the middle of it. Conricus flatly denied there is a ban on international journalists entering Gaza. Piers immediately reminded him that on this exact same show, in a previous appearance, Conricus himself had acknowledged the ban existed and said it should be lifted. That's not a matter of opinion. That's a documented on-air contradiction. Hit subscribe because Truth Review runs down every claim like this one. Now let's get into it.
Offensive missiles against the Iranian ballistic missiles. I was told on very good authority last week that the Iranians still have at least 50% of their ballistic missile capability left, and they're regenerating as they go. I was told this by somebody who would know. The Americans clearly have a defensive missile issue, and the neighboring Gulf states, some of them are in big trouble. You look at the smaller ones like Kuwait and Bahrain and others, they are getting really, really jittery about what may happen in those smaller states. And I don't blame them. So my argument, John, is I've heard all this rhetoric. None of it's worked.
No, none of this works. And this is an ongoing problem that we've seen stretch over the course of decades. I saw it at the CIA. It's easy to invade a country. It's easy to kill the leadership, but it's almost impossible to come up with an exit strategy that works. And we never think these things through. There's never an exit strategy. We always think that we're going to be greeted as liberators, and we're never greeted as liberators. We're greeted as invaders and occupiers. If there's one thing that this war has done in a very short period of time, it has united Iranians inside the country against the United States, Israel, and the Gulf countries.
No, it hasn't.
The Iranians have to do to win this.
You don't know that, and it hasn't.
That's it. That's all they have to do to win.
You don't know that, and it hasn't. And you can look at the amount of executions by the Iranian regime, including yesterday and the day before yesterday, public hangings. You can see how united they are.
US sources.
The only thing that they are united against is against the horrible regime that oppresses them. And the fact that you are doing their work and strengthening the propaganda.
So, Jonathan, if that's the case, Jonathan, hang on. Jonathan, if that's the case, why is it that Israel has never been more unpopular, particularly in America, where 2/3 of Americans now have a negative view of Israel? 50% of Americans nearly want Netanyahu arrested on American soil. So you can talk about the Iranians and how everyone's united against them and so on. Actually, what is happening, and I say this as somebody who likes Israel, likes Israelis, hates to see this happening, but your country is becoming increasingly a global pariah because of the actions of its government, that government is being driven by absolute psychopaths like Ben Gvir and Smodrich. And the more those guys do, and the appalling scenes we're seeing on the West Bank, for example, appalling scenes, right, which you should be the first to condemn. And I've always thought you try and be fair-minded when it's deserved the criticism. So here's your chance to be fair-minded. Are you happy with what's happening in the West Bank?
Let's first address what you said first about, the Israel standing in the world, which brings me great sadness. As someone who has been in media for a while, not as long as you and maybe some of the other panelists, but I can smell an influence operation a mile away. And what I give credit to is our enemies, the Palestinian Authority, and a few others, Qatar, lots of Qatari money, Russians, and Iran, for a very successful information campaign against Israel. They have been more successful information-wise than what we have been on the battlefield. And we have taken out Hezbollah, we've taken out Hamas, we have dealt significant blows to the Iranian regime. We have. I didn't interrupt you.
Tens of thousands of civilians butchered in the Gaza
significant ports of our enemies on the ground. But unfortunately, what the Jewish country, what the Jewish state faces is unprecedented, unequal. It is unique in the world. The amount of attention, scrutiny, and double standards that are faced against Israel.
You put it. Yeah, but Jonathan, what Israel, the Jewish state as you call it, what Israel, through its action, through its government's actions, and I say that very precisely, through this current government's actions, it is that's made Israel an increasing pariah.
No,
not
it
the way
isn't,
the media
no,
are
it
dictating
isn't.
I don't get told. Well, how is somebody like me, for example, who for many months after October the 7th ran into all sorts of abuse from the pro-Palestinian side because I defended Israel's right to defend itself, but I kept asking as I did that, what is a proportionate response? And you lost me when the response reached nearly 80,000 deaths in Gaza. Then we saw the attacks on southern Lebanon, on Iran, on this and that. You're in perpetual state of warfare, and the rest of the world's watching this going, you keep saying you're the victims here, but you keep attacking places and killing endless civilians. And you keep saying, well, we don't mean to. We're only after the bad guys. But in the process of killing the bad guys, you are killing tens and tens of thousands of innocent people. And the rest of the world's watching this going,
Piers.
Enough. Now, Jonathan, that is not PR. No one's paying me to say this. It is what I'm seeing with my own eyes.
Okay, after that, give me a chance to respond to that, because you really laid out so many things that are, at least that have, 2 sentences to speak about it. I suggest that you read the Substack of a British former army officer called Andrew Fox. I know he's maybe been on the show once and been in touch with the show. He just wrote a piece about the whole genocide libel falling to pieces, and he took each and every one of the components of the lies against Israel, specifically regarding Gaza. I won't go into all of the details, but I suggest that you read it and that you inform yourself. And if you ask, how have you fallen? Because you have also been influenced by this massive media operation against Israel. It is a media operation that I think no other country has faced.
If you want me to be better informed, if you want me to be better hang on, Jonathan. Hang on, Scott. If you want me to be better informed, Jonathan, then let the international journalists into Gaza to do their job and find out for themselves. Let them do it. There's a reason Netanyahu doesn't want it to happen and is prohibiting journalists from going in there unless they're embedded with the IDF and are friendly, like Andrew Fox.
Lots of reporting
and there is no independent free reporting in Gaza.
Yes,
none.
There is.
Zero.
Yes,
nada.
There is.
You banned all international media.
Reuters.
Which journalists gone in freely without IDF
CNN,
embedment?
Washington Post and AFP all have correspondents on the ground reporting from Gaza. Yes, check their bylines.
Operating freely.
All of these are reporting from Gaza daily.
Freely.
They have been reporting since October 7. What you say is factually incorrect.
So there is no ban, just to be clear. Wow, hang on. You yourself, in previous interviews on this show, have admitted there is a ban on international media and it should be stopped.
I have said that there haven't been international correspondence.
Since October the 7th, they've all been there. Which one is it?
I'll tell you very clearly. CNN, New York Times, Washington Post, AP, and AFP, and Reuters all have staff on the ground, and they have been reporting. Gazan reporters who work for those agencies, and of course Al Jazeera as well. I forgot the Qatari.
So just to be clear,
machine. But what hasn't been allowed?
I thought that the narrative coming out of Gaza with Gazan journalists was they were all pro-Hamas. That's why 200 plus have been killed. And they're all pro-Hamas, therefore they're not actual journalists. Now your position is that the Gazan journalists are free, independent journalists and not Hamas. Is that your position? And secondly, there remains in place, as you know, Jonathan, a ban on all international media going into Gaza. Non-Gazan journalists from outside side going in to do their job. So when you say to me, I should be better informed, I would love to be better informed. Let the journalists go in and do their job.
Let me inform you.
The international
you said about
media.
Journalists. 267 journalists, according to international NGOs, have been reported killed, cited by various organizations that they were only journalists. Out of those, more than 125 have already been recognized by Hamas and the Islamic Jihad as their own fighters. Now, where's the reporting on that? Where's the outrage of media organizations, of people
Where's
like
the
you?
reporting on that?
Where is the reporting on that? It's in
Piers,
the same.
Piers.
Let the journalists in and they'll do the
Let me give you a little
reporting.
information about was there a genocide
to Gaza, talking about the voluntary emigration of the entire population of the Gaza Strip. That's the genocide the guy's sitting here denying to your face. Voluntary immigration with a bayonet in your back. Women and children, so they can steal their land.
Genocide?
They're
Which
just
genocide? The population is growing, for Christ's sake. The Gazan population
was there
is growing.
a genocide in Fallujah? Let's talk about a direct comparison here.
Don't all, guys, time out. Don't all talk at once. We can't hear you. Let me bring Jim back in here. Jim, look, go on. You want to say something?
Was there a genocide in Fallujah?
Let's go straight through the specific claims made here, because several of them can be checked directly against the documented record. The journalist ban claim is the most important one, because it's the clearest contradiction in the entire exchange. Israel has maintained a policy since October 2023 restricting independent international journalists from entering Gaza on their own, requiring instead that foreign press access the territory only through IDF-organized embed programs with Israeli military escorts and pre-clearance of published material. This policy has been documented and criticized directly by the Committee to Protect Journalists, Reporters Without Borders, and the Foreign Press Association in Jerusalem, all of whom have formally called on Israel to allow unrestricted independent access. Conricus claiming there is no ban, and citing the presence of outlets like CNN, AP, Reuters, and Washington Post as evidence against that claim, conflates two different things. Those organizations do have local Palestinian staff and stringers reporting from inside Gaza, and they have occasionally participated in IDF-organized embeds. That is not the same as independent international correspondents being allowed to enter and report freely without military escort and clearance, which is specifically what press freedom organizations have identified as absent throughout this conflict. The 267 journalist deaths figure is worth examining carefully too, because both the headline number and the counterclaim deserve scrutiny. The Committee to Protect Journalists has documented over 165 journalist and media worker deaths in Gaza since October 2023 as of their most recent tallies, making it the deadliest conflict for journalists that organization has recorded since it began tracking data in 1992. Separately, Israeli authorities and affiliated researchers have publicly alleged that a number of those killed had documented affiliations with Hamas or Islamic Jihad military wings, presenting this as evidence that press credentials were being used as cover for combatant activity. These allegations have been made regarding specific named individuals, but independent verification of the full scope of that claim, at the scale suggested, has not been confirmed by the press freedom organizations tracking these deaths, several of whom have publicly disputed the methodology behind some of these designations. Both the death toll and the counter-allegation are separately documented claims that deserve continued independent investigation rather than either being accepted wholesale. The genocide determination is one of the most consequential legal questions in this entire conflict, and it's worth stating precisely what has and hasn't happened. The International Court of Justice, in provisional rulings issued in January and May of 2024, found it plausible that Israel's actions in Gaza could amount to violations of the Genocide Convention and ordered Israel to take measures to prevent genocidal acts and ensure humanitarian aid access. That is a significant legal finding from the UN's principal judicial body, but it is explicitly a provisional ruling on plausibility, not a final determination of genocide, which requires the case to proceed to a full merits hearing that has not yet concluded. Multiple genocide scholars and human rights organizations, including some members of the International Association of Genocide Scholars, have separately concluded independently that the pattern of conduct meets the legal definition. Other legal scholars and governments dispute that characterization while still acknowledging serious violations of international humanitarian law. The accurate framing is that this remains an active and unresolved legal proceeding with a significant preliminary finding already issued. not a case that has been fully adjudicated in either direction. The 2/3 of Americans holding a negative view of Israel figure and the 50% supporting Netanyahu's arrest on U.S. soil both trace back to specific 2024 and 2025 polling from Gallup, Pew Research, and Data for Progress, all of which showed a marked and sustained decline in American public approval of Israeli government conduct specifically, as distinct from views of the Israeli people or the country's existence, which polled very differently. That distinction between approval of a specific government's wartime conduct versus broader national sentiment is one worth holding on to precisely, since collapsing the two produces a much less accurate picture than either figure taken on its own. Subscribe to Truth Review. We take every specific claim on its own and check it against the actual documented record, whichever direction that record points.